Football fans, 8 weeks of NFL football are in the books, and it is time for us to do the mid-season review. That's right. Me and my great father here are going to take you through all 32 NFL teams and tell you who's shit and who is the best after a few short messages from us. My name is Michael Vitt, and this is my great co-host, Mike Vitt, and we are just two Vitts talking shit. Take us through it, Dad.
Okay, so this week, thank you. Normally we start off talking about both of our teams as we start the week, and last week both of our teams were off.
Yes,
And
sir.
so as it
2
fell
wins.
right in the middle, as it had 2 wins, there you go. As it fell right in the middle of the season, I thought it'd be a good time to cover a few things that I've sort of been putting on the back burner or just some things in review. First thing is I want to say thank you to all the people who are listening, who have subscribed, and who have listened. I have gotten quite a bit of positive feedback about kind of what we're doing for different reasons. We do try to cover football in pretty basics. We do dive a little bit deeper into some things. And so, if you're somebody who is learning football or who just enjoys talking about the recaps of the season, or just like listening to two knuckleheads, a father and a son,
That's us.
bantering back and forth, talking about football, which we love, then listen to us. And I appreciate those of you who have.
Yes.
Please, I never thought I'd be somebody to say this, but please like and subscribe.
Yes,
And
dude. He hit it. Call to action.
In addition to that, what I really want to say
Woo!
is share with anybody you know, because
Please
the
do.
more people we can get to subscribe and listen to the pod, then the more exposure we'll get, and more people will get an opportunity to hear us. So anybody who might like our content, please get them to subscribe. I would
Send it
appreciate
to
it.
him. Send it to him.
All right. So next thing, real quick, before we continue with
We
our
got
mid-season review.
Couple big topics before we get into the big stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Start us off.
Something that I have referenced a couple of times throughout the season, and
If
I
you've
would
been
like to
watching.
preface first and foremost that this is my favorite person on TV talking about sports. He has been my favorite for quite a while, and I really enjoy his content. And he is a rival fan of a team or a rival of both of our teams of the
Yeah.
Kansas City. His name is Nick Wright, and he does a show, a daily called First Things First. And I love the show. And so that is the first and foremost I would like to say. I think he does a phenomenal job at talking about sports. He's knows sports inside and out. I love his takes. They're different from most of the people. He's not just what I like to call a talking head, but he has great insights, and I learn a lot from listening to him. And he will change my mind sometimes when I think I'm dead set on something, because I think he just does that good of a job. However, there's one thing that I noticed a couple months back, and I have thought a lot about it. I started listening and going, wow, he really does say this one phrase so many times that I would like to offer up that it could be a college drinking game. I'm not condoning that we're drinking over excessively in college. And if you do use this as a college drinking game, you may get drunk. He has an out of control usage of the phrase, do you know what I mean? And at one point, I started logging how many times this man says it. I logged in one show. He said, do you know what I mean? 34 times. Followed by, do you know what or do you know, another 16 times, with an all-time high in a one-sentence phrase. He said, do you know what I mean? 3 times. And for a man who does as good a job as he does, I'm blown away that he uses do you know what I mean so often. I would yell at the TV, no, Nick, I do not know what you mean, which is why I'm listening to you so you can teach me. So I know it's sort of silly, but
it's a bit of a.
It started driving me crazy a while back, and I thought, you know what? Let's turn it into a college drinking game. And if you ever do stumble across this, just something to think about.
Just something to think about.
I really do like you. And this is coming from a dumb idiot who has hardly any subscribers and people who barely listen. I'm just a guy having fun talking. But it was just something that crossed my mind. It's been
Yeah.
scratching for a long time. I wanted to scratch the itch and get it out there because I cannot be the only one who notices
You
that
know,
that phrase gets used an excessive quantity of the time on a
I
daily basis.
I agree. I think Nick Wright needs some public speaking classes. I think he needs to learn how to
I
talk
didn't
in
go that
front of a
far. I
crowd.
didn't go that far. I'm trying to turn what I initially perceived as silliness into a college drinking game. I know that
You're just
if
trying to
I
have
was
fun.
still during those days,
You're not
I'm
trying to
just
step
trying to
on
have
toes.
fun
You're not trying to step on
and
toes.
shout out and shout out a guy who I think does a phenomenal job.
Okay. Well,
One day
thank you
maybe
for
we
that.
could be like Nick.
Hopefully one day I can say, "What do you know what I mean?" every couple of sentences too.
Yeah,
Uh,
well,
that's
Nick,
funny.
Nick, we don't all know what you mean, so if you could just continue to tell us what you mean
Yeah.
and make us all smarter, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, you've been talking about this since the season started, and it's
I
so
know.
funny to finally talk about it. But I
I know.
mean, it's good. It's funny times. It's fun times. Now to move on to the next topic, before we get in again, we've got a lot to talk about today, and we're going a little bit off script. Usually, we talk about our teams, we talk about important
Mhm.
topics throughout the week, and then
Right.
we go into our predictions for the next week, and there we're done. We're done. This week's different. First of all, week 8 was boring. Nothing happened. Every game was a blowout with the exception of one, and that sucks. And neither of our teams played, so screw it. We're not talking about it in that capacity. But
No.
we do need to talk about some very key things that have happened throughout the whole season before we get into our tier list, our ranking. And
Mhm.
really it's just one main thing, and that is the tush push. All right? I think every episode so far this year, I've brought up the tush push and said it is a problem. All right? And with each
Uh-huh.
passing week, I think I've convinced you specifically to agree with me on the fact that the tush push is indeed a problem for a very specific reason, for a reason that I think is going to be brought up in the offseason, and I think it's the reason that's going to get the play banned, and that is, of course, that the tush push is a play that is uncallable. You cannot, as a ref, make a good call on it on whether or not there are penalties that are occurring on the play. You cannot do it.
Right.
I do not think it's
Right.
possible. I think every time that the tush push is ran, there is a flag, whether it be a false start or an offensive offsides or this or that. And this week specifically, none of that happened with the tush push, but rather the refs completely blew a blatant strip, sack, fumble, whatever you want to call it, on Jalen Hurts. The New York Giants were lined up on 4th and 1 on the 1 yard or 1 yard away from a first down, and they ran the usual tush push. And Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, pops out of this scrum, moving forward, and a defensive end for the New York Giants, the team they were playing, Thibodeau, grabs the ball out of his hand, rolls over on the ground, and then recovers it for the New York Giants. Now, what do you think, Dad, usually happens when a play like that happens? Do you think the New York Giants get the ball and then it's their ball and they're going the other way? Or do you think it's a first down for the Philadelphia Eagles?
No, the play was incorrectly called.
Exactly. Should be the New York Giants ball, but instead, the ref said they blew the play dead because Jalen Hurts' forward progress was done. Now, on further review, the refs blew the play dead after Thibodeau had the ball in his hands. We could hear it. I got ears, all right? I listened to it over and over again.
Yep.
Second of all, Jalen Hurts' forward progress was not stopped. He was still very clearly moving forward. He hadn't even been touched yet in the pocket. So on first contact, you blow the play dead? No. The refs are terrible. They're terrible this year. They get worse every year. It's getting more and more blatant how bad they are. Not only that, but now they're being forced to officiate a play that is unofficiatable. You can't do it. Even when it's blatantly in your face what you need to call, you still can't get it right. And I don't know. I just think the tush push is exposing the biggest overarching issue with the NFL, which is the officiating is a huge issue, and they need to fix it. I mean, the last 2 weeks of our podcast, it's been like the main topic, how bad the officiating is. Like, it's getting bad, you know?
Yeah, it is getting bad. I started off the season. We started the first pod that we did for this season. I We discussed this because it was a topic in the off season, like you said, and my stance at that point was that I didn't have a problem with the play. The NFL decided that it was not a safety concern, and by all metrics, it hadn't. It hadn't caused any injuries. There was nothing
It's not a safety
significant.
concern.
I didn't care that it gave Philadelphia this perceived unfair advantage because any other team can do it. They just aren't successful at it.
Nope.
And so I didn't have a problem with it. And at the beginning of the season, that was, I think even you had brought it up that it possibly was an officiating problem. And my stance at that point was that's the only thing I can see. But until that becomes an actual true issue, my vote was to keep the tush push. I didn't really care.
Yeah.
And that has now, halfway through the season, I have changed my stance 110%. And that they must take this play out because it's impossible, apparently, for them to officiate. It's been exposed several times over the last few weeks with slowing down replays and having replay officials come on and just say just that it should be penalties, that they can't. And then that was just on false starts.
Yeah, and
getting the
offsides.
unfair advantage from a false start. And then this last week, we have another issue where you're right. It is a play that's not blown dead. His forward progress was not stopped. And really, when you compare it, they don't blow the whistle because oftentimes in that tush push or other plays similar to it, forward progress continues to move after a brief stoppage and they let it go. And then that tush push turns into a bigger play or plays similar to it too. And then on this particular play, it was very quickly that he lost control of the ball, that it was a turnover. And they decided to reverse it this time and say, no, that was forward progress stopped. And so there just isn't enough continuity to how it's being officiated.
Nope.
And it seems to always go in favor of, in this case, Philadelphia, who's running it. And quite frankly, it's just not fair. And so I have completely changed my stance on this. Mm-hmm. The tush push needs to go because we can't officiate it properly, which gives an unfair advantage. And I don't think that even as a Philadelphia fan, that you could honestly say that play this week was officiated properly.
No, it was terrible.
I think it's got to go. I'm really hoping it will be gone.
And the worst thing about the play, the worst crime it's committed so far this year is because last week's one was called incorrectly. I think because it was called incorrectly, it led to an injury of my favorite NFL player this year, Cam Skattebo. I think if that was called correctly, Cam Skattebo would have been put in that position, and he wouldn't have had such a gruesome leg injury. And you know what? That's the Eagles' fault. I mean, that's the league's officiating fault. So screw the league and the Eagles.
All right. Okay.
Shout out Cam Skattebo. Hope you get better. All right. All right. Now that we're done with that.
The previous 3 sentences you said prior to that, I don't agree with any of that. Keep it moving.
Yeah. All right. Now that I'm done with my stupid spiel, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. So rather than talking about our predictions for next week and, our thoughts on what happened this week for teams, we are going to go into a tier list, and we're going to tier list every single NFL team from this year. Now, the way our tier list is set up is we have 8 tiers total. Our top 4 tiers are, Super Bowl contenders, are good teams that we like to talk about, teams that have something that we like to think about every week. And then our bottom 4 tiers are teams that, are missing the mark every week. And, we might occasionally talk about them, but at this point every week it's kind of the same story. They're the worst of the worst, And so how we're going to do it is we're going to go through from our bottom tier all the way up to the top. And we have one tier in the middle called the chopping block. And the teams that are on the chopping block are just about ready to be a team that we don't really want to talk about anymore. And teams below them, we definitely won't talk about anymore. Just because, 8 weeks in, we've kind of got an idea about each team's identity. And, some teams, we know what their story is, and their story is they're not going very far. So let's move into it. Let's move into it. Here we go. Bam, please be working. Yes, it's working. Look at that tier list. So we've got the dumpster fire tier, shite but just might. They've got a little bit of hope. They're on the chopping block. We've got the frisky but not complete teams. We've got the contenders, the juggernauts, and they're going to win it all. Our number 1 team. Now, To be fair,
Okay.
this is my thoughts. This is my tier list. My dad is going to just commentate on what I put on the tier list. He might agree with me,
Perfect.
he might disagree with me, but this is my definitive tier list. And so I'm going to start off with the number one, the worst team in the league. That's right, the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are by far the worst organization in the NFL from top to bottom. Their team's a dumpster fire, their coaching's a dumpster fire, their ownership is a dumpster fire. They are bad, they are doggy doo-doo, and I don't think they're going anywhere. That's all I have to say. You have any thoughts on the Tennessee Titans?
No, I think that they're not good, and they fired their head coach a season and a half into hiring him last year
Mm-hmm.
with really almost no opportunity. They just drafted their quarterback number one overall
Mm-hmm.
this year, and Cam Ward, who I discussed in length at the beginning of the season, who is not good. He's not doing very well, and it's hard to tell now if that's uh, where the team he's playing on, or if, as I predicted, he's not really the abilities and talent of deserving of a number one overall pick.
Yeah.
But they've got a long road to hoe. They fired Mike Vrabel, kind of out of the weird. That was sort of a weird firing a couple years ago,
Yep.
and they have not looked good ever since. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a mess. They're a mess. They've only gone down, but it's okay because there's one team that's just right up butted next to them, and that, my friend, is the New York Jets. Jets, Jets. That's right. The Jets, in my opinion, are the second worst team in the NFL. Same issues as the Titans. But they have a little bit more hope, in my opinion. Now, first of all, their owner's a fucking mess. He's a joke. All right, he is a total joke. In the media the last 2 weeks, he's completely torched his quarterback. He's made his team look like a mess. When asked if he was a good owner, he said, "Well, good owners have winning teams, right?" Or something along that lines. He said something along the lines of, "I think I'm a good owner, but I'm not winning games," which means you're not a good owner, right? The coaching, this is where I give him a difference, right? The Jets just got a new head coach, and he's working with a bit of a skeleton crew, in my opinion. I think he's got great pieces, but his team needs some help. The issue is he's a defensive-minded coach who just adopted what was a really good defense last year, and they are now one of the worst defenses in the league. He lost, I think it was 7 straight games without a single defensive turnover, which is crazy. You're a defensive coach, Aaron Glenn. You're a defensive coach who adopted a bunch of great defensive players. Where is that? They got their first win this week, and I thought it was a good, well-fought victory. It was against the Bengals, who are not that great. But I think they have a little bit more hope in the sense that at least it's a first-year head coach, and maybe, just maybe, Aaron Glenn might be able to give his team a little bit more hope, over on. If they don't fire him right away, they might have a chance. We'll see. Give him some time. He needs at least a chance to get a quarterback that he actually wants in the building. So that's where I think about the Jets.
yeah, I think the Jets are terrible, and they had 0 turnovers through the first 5 games.
Sorry,
Which,
yes.
as you said, should be a defensive coach. And that's what he's known for. To have that poor of a defense is inexcusable. Yeah, the Jets have been run poorly by their owner for a long, long time, and they have the longest playoff drought in all of professional sports in football,
Yep,
basketball, baseball, or hockey. And so
it's bad.
it is kind of a bummer. And some of the things he's coming out and talking about, putting his quarterback on blast. And I guess in fairness, he's trying to pump up his coach. And it's just a terrible situation. And, they did win this week against the Bengals. And I don't think they should have. And if it was probably 75 or 80% of the other teams in the league, they would not have.
Mm-hmm.
And even just when you look at just the play calling at the end, and it worked out for the 2-point conversion that they went for, and it shouldn't have,
Yep.
but it did somehow. It's just, I mean, they won because I don't know, by
Because the
luck, to
Bengals
be quite
lost.
honest.
They won because the
Yeah, it
Bengals
was really the
lost.
Bengals lost, not because the Jets won, and it's celebrated. And Aaron Glenn looks like he's on the sidelines as the head coach, and he just won a huge playoff game or something, jumping up and down and celebrating it. And quite frankly, he only won that game Well, like I said, because the Bengals lost it. So
Well,
yeah,
okay.
they're not good. I
To
don't
give
know.
Aaron Glenn some credit for why he was celebrating so much, the Detroit
Uh-huh.
Lions, when they lost, what was it, 8 straight games in a row in Dan Campbell's first
Uh-huh.
season, and won that game in that
Uh-huh.
crazy last second play on fourth down against the Vikings, they also
Uh-huh.
celebrated like it was a playoff win, right? Now, to be
Uh-huh.
fair, I think the Lions had a lot more hope and a lot more things going for them. But, when you're a team as bad as you are, um, when you get that win, it means a lot. Now, I don't know if Aaron Glenn has the same effect that Dan Campbell has on the Lions, so I don't know. But in terms of that, yeah,
I'm gonna go now.
yeah, I would say that. And then, to talk about that that 2-point conversion call that won them the game, right? The commentators of that game were severely criticizing him for it, like you were when it happened.
Oh yeah.
And
Live,
then,
live while you and I were on the
yeah,
phone, I said several times, I hope they lose by 1 point before they went for the 2 point conversion.
yeah,
I hoped that it would prove to lose, and unfortunately, it's actually turned out to be the 1 point that they won by.
yeah.
But you had to watch. It was not good. It just was the wrong decision at the wrong time, and
He
it's
shouldn't have
what
made it
one in
then.
seven teams do, and he
Yeah.
just got lucky.
Yeah.
So anyway,
We'll
okay.
see. The New York Jets, and specifically the coaching of the New York Jets. To me,
Uh-huh.
it feels like, because he comes from the Dan Campbell coaching tree, it seems like a guy who's trying to take risks and make those crazy plays. He just doesn't understand why Dan Campbell does it and when he does it. Because while Dan Campbell has messed up a lot in the past, there's a reason for why he makes these decisions every time. And Aaron Glenn, in my opinion, made the decision to do it at the wrong time, and it just worked out. Let's move
All right.
on to
All right, yeah,
the
let's
third
go.
and final dumpster fire of the NFL, the
Mhm.
Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are a shit show. Tyreek Hill breaks his leg, out for the season, and somehow it made their team better. Mike McDaniel is a coach who shouldn't be a coach, in all honesty. He doesn't seem like a leader of men. When you said it, in the past, you've said it in the past, his quirky, like, nonchalant vibe works when you're winning. But when you are not the highest scoring offense in NFL history and you're not winning games as much as you have been, you can't do that anymore, right?
Mhm.
It's just a mess. Their quarterback can't keep his mouth shut, nonstop talking shit about his team in the media. Mike McDaniel is not a great coach in any way, and the Miami Dolphins, although they won this week against against the Atlanta Falcons, and looked decent, pretty dominant actually, they're still a mess. And these huge issues on the back end are what's going to tear that team apart. And that's what the dumpster fire teams really are. They're teams that might have talent or might be good enough, or might be teams that have, like, on paper look good enough, but their organization is such a mess that they're never going to go anywhere from there. So until these three teams figure out their severe ownership or coaching issues, et cetera, they're not going to be better. And that's how I feel about these three teams. I think all three of these teams are trash.
Okay, those are the dumpster fires.
Those are the dumpster fires. You have no thoughts on Miami?
Nope, I've already said enough
Wait.
about them.
All right, next tier is the shite but just might. These are teams that are just about on the same tier as the dumpster fire, but I think they've got a little bit more hope. Just a little bit. Number one are the New Orleans Saints. Dad, honestly, I'd like you to say a little bit about the New Orleans Saints, because you actually have watched them a lot more closely than I have in the last couple years. And, if it were up to, I considered your opinion on them, which is why I put them one tier higher. And personally, I probably would have put them in the dumpster fire tier, but you, every week, week in, week out, have given some hope and given some defense towards the New Orleans Saints. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on them, because I really wouldn't compare them to the Jets or the Titans or the Dolphins. But I do think they're pretty bad. I don't think they're that good of a football team in any way. So let me hear what you have to say
Well,
about them.
all right, this is your list. So I would have put them. I would have put them as dumpster fires still.
Really?
I would have put them as
So
dumpster fires
my
still.
my consideration out of you, and being someone who has faith in them every week, I also would have put them in dumpster fire. If you're gonna, I'm gonna move them down, because they're the bottom of my shite but just might tier. So I'm gonna move them down. They're
Hey,
bad. They're a wreck.
you made your list, and I'm just gonna come in and tell you what I think about it.
Yeah, they're a wreck. I'm dropping them.
I don't think there's any just might in their shite. I think that they are struggling. They are a team who has mismanaged the salary cap for the last, I don't know, many years.
Yeah.
And so they never have money to spend on anybody. They have a first year head coach in Kellen Moore, who is still learning how to be a head coach. I mean, he's done
Yep.
a pretty good job as an offensive coordinator in several stops the last few years with the Cowboys and with Philadelphia. And so, and they have no quarterbacks. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
they're benching who had been their starting quarterback
Spencer
for the
Rattler.
previous. Yeah, Spencer Rattler, who I don't think has ever really actually been a starting quarterback in the NFL, and if not been on a team like the Saints, he would have never started a game.
Yep.
For now, they're one of the
Backup
picks
QB.
this year. Yeah, Tyler Schutt, who's I think a long shot to be a starting quarterback himself.
Yep.
And so they don't have a lot really going for them,
Mm-mm.
and so I think they're a dumpster fire team too. I think that it's going to take them some time to get turned around, and it's going to take them longer than most teams because of what they've done to the salary cap and their money situation.
Okay.
So
Fair enough. Yeah. No.
yes, I do. I do tend to pick them. I'm not sure why. I just from
I
week
think
to
you got a
week, I feel
soft
like
spot
they've
for
got some
him.
opportunities. But realistically, no, they're a terrible team.
Okay.
So
Well,
okay, go on.
I've dropped them into the dumpster fire tier. They're there. Now
It's your list, man. You do what you got to
here's
do.
my limit. Here's my limit. The Browns are not dumpster fire. They're shite, but just might. And here's why I'm going to
Okay,
say
is that
it.
the next team?
Yes,
Browns?
the Browns are the next
Okay.
team. Here's my limit.
Right.
Okay. First of all, Stefanski has done a terrible job since letting Baker Mayfield go. I'll admit that. I don't know how you go from coach of the year to whatever this mess is right now, but Stefanski does have the privilege to say he does have a team with a phenomenal defense. That defense is insane. It is a very, very, very talented defense across the board, and I think he's probably going to get fired this year, which sucks. But if you put a really good head coach in the position to specifically a really good offensive-minded coach, like you can turn that team around. Do I think Dylan Gabriel is the answer at QB? Probably not. Do I think Shadur Sanders is the answer at QB? Also probably not. But I think you could work with both of those guys as a head coach. And if you put the pieces around them that you need to put around them, which they kind of have some good pieces. Quinshon Judkins is a great standout rookie running back. I think Jerome Ford is also a great secondary running back piece. Get him a couple wide receivers, get him some protection in the pocket. That team could bump back up to what they were before they fell from heaven. And that's why I think the Browns are shite, but they just might have something going for them. They have some hope.
Okay. Yeah, the defense is good. They have a top 1 or 2 to 3, depends on where you slot them. Defensive lineman, defensive end / tackle.
Myles Garrett, yeah.
In the league, Myles Garrett. So yeah, who had 5 sacks this last week. And their defense is really good. But yeah, they've struggled to find a solution at quarterback for the last 25 years. And the one they had in Baker Mayfield, they let go.
Yep.
And it was sort of an interesting set of circumstances that surrounded that. And we now see what Baker Mayfield's doing for Tampa Bay Bucks. So sort of it's still a head scratcher as to how that whole thing happened a couple years ago. But
Yeah.
having said that, the Browns are another team that historically have just not been good, who have not been run well.
Nope.
And so I think they're properly placed. I'm not even sure about the might on that one as well. But
I think
that's
they
where
can.
you got them, and so
That's how I
okay,
feel.
fair enough.
I think they've got a lot of good pieces. They just need some better coaching. Next up, now this one was tough for me, because originally I had them a tier higher, but I'm gonna keep my thoughts on them where my thoughts are on them. I think the next team that's up is the Carolina Panthers. They're shite,
Okay.
but they just might. I don't like the Carolina Panthers. I've been very against them throughout this season. They did have a 4-game win streak, and I think it's a fluke. I think it's a fluke. The only reason why I put them in the shite but just might tier is because they won 4 games. Because of a running back by the name of, is it Rico Dowdle, I believe is his name, who's had a great couple of games over the course of the last few weeks. But other than that, I think they're a mess, dude. I do. They can't figure out the quarterback position, and because of that, they have no passing game. They haven't had one for a while, even when Bryce Young isn't. Bryce Young, is that right? It's Bryce Young? I know I've messed it up in the past, but it's Bryce Young. Just catching myself. Even when Bryce Young is in and playing at his best, they're still kind of shaky on the passing game. Their wide receivers are also a huge concern. Xavier Legette was a standout guy, last year as a rookie. People thought he was going to be good. He's been so mediocre, worse than mediocre. Tetora McMillan, I think is the rookie this year, also had promise, but because you don't have a fucking guy who can throw him the ball, he doesn't get to do anything. It's just a mess. Your offense is a dumpster fire because of that, and your defense performs decent, nowhere near as good as the Browns defense, but it's good enough. And it just sucks. I think if that team had a guy in the pocket who could throw the ball and a little bit more help, they'd be good, but they're not, and I don't think they're going to return to their previous greatness like they were in 2015 and around that time anytime soon because of it. But I'm giving them shite but might because they have 4 wins. I just don't know how many more wins they get this year.
So based on record, that's how you came to the conclusion that they might have an opportunity?
They won 4 good ball games, but the games that they lost, they got embarrassed. So.
Well, yeah, I mean they beat the Bills, and they beat the Bills.
No, that's it, right?
They beat the Bills. They beat the Bills and they beat the Cowboys, and so those are their 2 signature wins this year.
Yeah, and you're not going to believe this, but the Cowboys aren't much higher on my list, so they really only beat the Bills, in my humble opinion.
Okay, that's fair, but I think the way that the Panthers are viewed, that if Cowboys win would actually be considered a fairly good win based on how low.
I'd like to clarify, they didn't beat the Bills. They were embarrassed by the Bills this week. The Bills beat them 40-9. Yeah, they beat the Jets, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Falcons.
Oh, you're right.
The Bills embarrassed them.
I don't know how I did that.
They haven't beat anybody good.
Yeah, you're right. We had a long discussion about that.
The team that beat the Bills is on my list, I will say. They're not much higher, but the team that beat the Bills were the Falcons. That's my thoughts. I think they're a dumpster fire. They haven't beat anybody legit, and they just have a mess at the quarterback. Next team, Dad. I'm so sorry to do this to you. You don't deserve this, but I have to do it. The Raiders are my next team that are shite, but just might. Now, the Raiders had a lot of promise going into the season. We've heard it all, right? You do it. You tell us every week. They had a lot of promise going into this season. Pete Carroll came in. You've got Tom Brady as a consultant. All signs were pointing to the Raiders potentially having a breakout season, similar to what the Bears are looking like right now, right? We thought that they would come in, they'd be frisky, they'd be fun, they'd have some struggles, but they would be good, right? Pete Carroll, very proven NFL head coach. He's coached Seattle when Seattle was good. He was with USC, right? He's got a great career. And we thought that he might just maybe help turn these Raiders around. And so far, through 8 weeks, I think the Raiders have looked exactly the same as they always have over the last couple of years, and that sucks. Now, here's where my just might comes in, right? I think Ashton Genty will be a great running back. I think Brock Bowers is by far one of the best tight ends in the NFL. I think the young pieces on the Raiders are good. I think that the leaders on the Raiders are insanely good. Max Crosby specifically being one of them. What needs to change is the approach to how you're coaching, specifically the offense. You need to fire your offensive coordinator ASAP, Pete Carroll. All right, if you're going to keep that job, right? And then find yourself a new quarterback. I think if you do those 2 things next year, you will be better off. You need to play for the pieces you have, right? Play for that star running back that you drafted out of college. All right,
Mhm.
build up your O line, give him an easier job, and then I think you guys will be good next year. That's how I feel about the Raiders.
Mm.
What are your thoughts?
So in this case, you're saying they're shite, but
But they might have some hope.
if they redo everything, that next year they might be okay.
Not redo everything. You just need to fire your offensive
Okay.
coordinator, and then keep building around the young pieces you have, and get yourself a
Hmm.
new quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins
Okay.
is on the market.
No, he's actually not on the market.
He wants
Atlanta
to be
will.
on the market as of this
Well, that
morning.
doesn't matter. He doesn't get to make that money.
that's that's
Um.
that's how I feel about the Raiders.
Yeah. So fortunately for me, because this mid season and that you've gone through and put these categories together, and we're going to decide probably the bottom half of these categories we're not going to talk about really as far as the rest of the season goes, unless something drastically changes. Um, because the Raiders are a team that's contractually obligated by us to discuss every week, I don't really have to put up or defend them all too much this week. I can continue to talk about them every week and give my feedback on how they're doing. Where
Mm-hmm.
I stand now,
Mm-hmm.
after taking an absolute ass whooping, 31-0 by the Chiefs, who took out all their starters in the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. I think the
Mm-hmm.
earliest any team has ever done that in the history of NFL football,
Yep.
and absolutely embarrassed the Raiders going into the bye week. I've had 2 weeks to sit and sulk and be upset about it, and I quite frankly don't want to talk about it anymore. So if we can move on to the next
We
one,
will move
I would
on.
appreciate it.
We will move on. My last team in the shite but might tier are the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Bengals have looked really fun the last couple of weeks with Joe Flacco at QB. That was a great decision. That was a decision that I was calling for when it happened because they needed someone to sling that rock to their two insanely talented wide receivers. But the Bengals' issues are apparent, and they've been apparent since Joe Burrow joined that team however many years ago. The Bengals organization has one very key issue. They refuse to draft in the trenches for whatever reason. Or they refuse to build their trenches for whatever reason. I'm not going to say draft, but they refuse to build their trenches for whatever reason. Over the course of Joe Burrow's career, this Bengals team has not once ever had a good O line, in my opinion. Even when they went to the Super Bowl, it was a mess. They
Hmm.
they are so bad purely because of the fact that they do not have an offensive line. That's how detrimental their offensive line is to that team. If Joe Burrow doesn't have however many season-ending injuries he has because of all the pressures and all the hits he has to take because his offensive line sucks, they'd be a good team. They'd be a great team. But because of that,
Yeah.
they're trash. Also, head coach Zach Taylor, I believe is his name, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
Zach Taylor's at fault for it all, and their GM. And it might be time for a change. They might need a new head coach, and they might need to figure it out. But they have the pieces of a good roster. They do.
They do
Trey
have some piece.
Hendrickson, they locked down. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, right? All talented players. Like you have the pieces there. But my lord, how do you forget the most important part of your offense after quarterback? Your O-line. If your quarterback can't do anything because he's constantly getting hit, you can't do anything. So it's just, the Bengals suck. They suck. And they can't keep getting away with Joe Burrow getting hurt at the start of every season and then relying on some random, veteran QB backup to try and save their season.
Yeah. So I mean, the Bengals' problem probably extends further than the offensive line. That is a problem. The Bengals' problem is a systemic problem. That is a Bengals problem specifically. Well, other teams have this problem too, but they are a historically cheap, don't want to pay for the players that they need and spend money where maybe they shouldn't, but they're historically cheap. to the point where it
Yeah.
actually pisses off players. And just to real touch on the Hendrickson contract was an
It
absolute
was a mess. It was a mess.
it was a mess this offseason. They had promised him extensions and money for the last couple of seasons. He was the number one pass rusher last year with the most sacks, I believe. He deserved a contract, and they fought all off season. They ended up doing a 1 year contract extension, which is not what he wanted. And so he is now going to be a free agent. And so it is likely, or at least I've heard, that it's possible that they will actually, if they're smart, they'll trade him before they don't have anything of value to get back. Because once he'll be on the free agent market, they'll get nothing for
Yep.
him. So if they trade him to a contender now. So really what I'm trying to say is, and quite frankly, I think we have, what is this, 8 teams that are
Yeah.
in the bottom three, the bottom two tiers.
Yeah.
Every single one of those teams has something in common. With
Yeah.
maybe aside from the Dolphins, they are all in ownership and front office, but definitely in ownership, are absolutely terribly run for a long time,
Yeah.
and you can't get past poor ownership
Mm-mm.
for any length of time.
Nope.
And they're all wearing the ugly reality that their ownership is a mess. From Woody Johnson or talking crap in for the Jets to Mark Davis for the Raiders having no money and consistently making poor decisions over and over again. Can't get out of his own way. The Raiders haven't been good since Al Davis died.
Yeah.
To the Browns forever, and on and on and on. And so that's where you find those teams over and over again, and that's why.
Yep.
Carry on.
All right, next one is have hope. These are teams that I think, have something going for them. They've got something going for them. More than just, hey, if you make a bunch of these changes in the offseason, maybe next year you'll be better.
Okay.
Starting with number one, I have the New York Giants.
Giants.
Yes, sir. The New York Giants have some hope. I think me and you both have loved watching the New York Giants since Jackson Dart has started playing QB for this team. I mean, my Lord, they've played some good, exciting football over the last couple of weeks. They beat the Eagles. They had a terrible fourth quarter against the Broncos, but played a great game otherwise. And, this week against the Eagles, I think they would have had a good fighting chance up until the lifeblood of that team, Cam Skattebo, had a season-ending injury. I think that killed all the vibes for that team. I think he was the rock that held that team together. But well, all I have to say is, going into the season, we knew they were going to be a dumpster fire. We knew they were going to be a mess. I said it early on. I said, if you throw Jackson Dart in, I think that team's going to have a little bit more life to him. Daboll was begging for it. Russ is not the answer for that team. Jackson Dart is. He's Daboll's guy, right? Mm-hmm. This is what I was hoping for. And as soon as that happened, you saw some life in that team. And they looked fun and they looked exciting. They looked like they could compete in any game they played in. And so that is why I think the New York Giants have a bit of hope. I think Daboll can save his job Daboll has saved his job just by putting Jackson Dart in, proving that, hey, this is my guy. He's going to help us win games. Keep me as your head coach. And for that reason, I think they have a bit of hope. I'm excited for them. I don't think they're going to go to the playoffs this year. I think they're going to struggle even more now with the injuries to Malik Neighbors and now Skattebo. But, they've got some fun pieces. They've got some guys. Now, the media this morning is reporting that Thibodeau might be getting traded, which would be terrible in my opinion. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is a huge piece of your team, and if you want to keep your team competitive for years to come, you should find a way to keep him, but who knows, he might get traded.
Yeah, so I will agree with you half on your initial statement, which was they're exciting and good team, and I'll say they're exciting. They were fun for a flash in the pan after opening the season absolutely terribly. Daboll makes the change, goes to starting their number one pick this year in the draft, Jackson Dart, and couple Jackson Dart with Skattebo, their sort of meathead, if you will, running back. Those two combination brought an absolute ginormous spark, more like
a culture change.
To
It was a
what
culture
happening.
change.
Yeah, and it was sure was exciting to watch for a couple of games. I don't think that they were really good. I disagree with you. I don't think they would have beat Philadelphia. No, I don't think they.
I think it would have been a competitive football game against Philadelphia. I think it was.
I don't think they're a good team. I think that they were just fun to watch because Jackson Dart's out there running around slinging the ball. But when you actually sit back and watch some of the mistakes he's made, it's clear that he's a rookie. It's clear that there's a lot of
Oh,
things he
yeah.
still needs to work on. They're suffering in a lot of areas. Their defensive line specifically, on paper, should be all world, and it really hasn't been. It's been okay. It hasn't been why they're losing games, but it certainly hasn't been the all world.
Yeah.
Defensive line that I kind of thought they were going to have coming into the season. So while exciting, I don't agree good. I think that Dable did buy himself another year. They're going
Minimum.
to need to get the band back together. They're going to need to get back their number one wide receiver because they do have some fun and exciting pieces, but they have not been good for a long time either. And they've made a lot of really interesting, borderline just dumb mistakes that have been exposed in the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
so uh, I am interested to see how the offseason goes for them, how the rest of this season goes. If Dayball did in fact save his job, I feel terrible about Cam Scadaboo because I do think that he was
Prayers for him.
absolutely fun to watch, and I do hope that he does recover. His injury at this point is being reported as he should not miss the start of next season, so he should be
Good.
able to recover in the offseason and get back to it. So I'll be excited to see sort of how next season starts, if they can
Hmm.
build on what. Hopefully, they'll build the rest of this season, and hopeful in that, I guess, is what I would say. I don't think any hope for this season's left, but as compared to what it was when they were 0-3 or whatever it was
Russ.
with Russ, yeah, with Russell Wilson, it was there is hope in that, I guess. So what's the
Yeah.
next one?
All right, my next team, the 2-4 Arizona Cardinals, are my next team. I think I said it. It's gonna be a short one for the Arizona Cardinals because it really is a very simple thing in my mind. I said it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago with you on the phone. I said if they just got rid of Kyler Murray, they would be a competitive football team. But Kyler Murray is the reason this team sucks. That's all I have to say about it. You get rid of Kyler Murray, that team is good. You've got some great pieces on that team as a whole, and I think you drop him, it opens up the floodgates, and that team is competitive. They looked competitive when Brissett was playing for them 2 weeks ago, and I don't know. It's just that's how I feel about them. Like they're not. I don't think they're that bad of a team. I don't think they're great, but I think you get rid of Kyler Murray, that team becomes way better. It's one key quarterback change fixes your problems.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I agree with you about Kyler Murray. I think that drafting him has actually set that franchise back quite a bit. They've been through several head coaches, and the turnover was phenomenal. And if you just watch their games, I just don't even know why they're out there playing.
When
I
when
mean,
Kyler Murray is on the field, that team looks like they don't know why they're there. Like,
yeah, and I think that that was their number one pick a few years ago, and I think that honestly, he's actually set them back and
there's no
has done
motion.
nothing for that franchise. Yeah, he's just done nothing for that franchise, and because
There's
of
no
how much they
motion.
put into him, and because of the direction that they've continued to follow in his, with him, that I think that it's just it's terrible. I don't see. I'm not sure where you see hope in that. The hope, I guess, is that you hope that they don't let Kyler Murray play anymore.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's essentially is like at some point you guys got to learn. You got to move on from Kyler. He's not the
Yeah.
play. But like you have
Yeah.
you have good pieces. You have a really good team, in my opinion. You need a guy in there who's gonna lead your team. Who's gonna lead your team, and so when you
Okay.
guys walk out on the field every week, it looks like you have a reason to be there. So
Well, like the Arizona Cardinals should, let's move on.
okay, let me move on. Let me respond real quick to a message I got. Um, and then we can go. I'm so sorry. Okay, cool. Oh wait. Sorry. Important pressing message. Okay, next team. Ready for it?
Yeah, let's go for it. Moving on.
This is a shocking one. I have the Atlanta Falcons. I have the Atlanta Falcons right above the Arizona Cardinals. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why I
Yeah,
have this team?
tell the people. Tell the people why
The
you have this
the
ludicrous.
Atlanta Falcons are an
Mhm,
anomaly in the NFL. They make no
mhm,
sense to me. Week
mhm.
in, week out, I cannot tell if they are a good football team or a bad football team. And that, in my opinion, makes them a bad football team. One week, they're out here beating the Buffalo Bills. The next week, they're getting shut out almost by the Miami Dolphins, right? Uh, they make no sense. They lost what 30-0 to the Panthers earlier in the season. It just
Yeah,
there's nothing. It makes no sense. A team
yeah.
that has, again, this is a team that clearly has and has shown that they can be good. They have the talent. Uh, Consistently week in week out finds a way to show that they have no idea who they are, and nobody is ever going to figure out who they are either.
Yeah,
So, for
I
that reason, I can't put them any higher than this because I'm hopeful that they could be good. But every year the season starts and everyone goes, the Falcons are going to be the fucking top team in the NFL. Bijan's going to be the best offensive player. They're going to be so freaking good. And then 3 weeks in, we're like, what the hell is this? What are these guys? They make no sense. So I'm tired of hearing every year that the Falcons are going to be some phenomenal juggernaut super team, and then they look nothing like that. So that's why I've put the Falcons at the have hope tier, because they have talent and everybody believes that they have the talent, but they have not proven that they are a consistently talented football team.
yeah, they're frustrating. I
Yeah, they piss me off, and every time I
They
bet on them,
never
they let
do.
me down.
They never do what they should. They never win when they should. They never lose when they should. And so there's just no consistency or continuity in that team, and I hate it. So
Yeah.
moving on.
All right, my last team. Actually, I think I have two more teams on this tier. I'm so sorry. Second to last team, the Washington Commanders. The
Okay.
Washington Commanders this year have been a disappointment, to say the least. The Jaden Daniels injury early on in the season definitely hindered that team's ability to compete. But overall, I have to say it, I think Washington sucked with him in the game. Uh, week 2, they played the Packers. The Packers embarrassed them, and that was when we still thought Washington was really good because of their last year performance. But I don't know why they've just been a disappointment this year. They're kind of the same spot that the Falcons were in for me, in the sense of we know that they're a good team. They've been proven to be a
Mhm.
good team. They have a great offense, right? They've got a really fun, exciting rookie running back. They've got Scary Terry and Debo Samuel. Jaden Daniels, when he's healthy, is good, but even Mariota's proven to be a great backup quarterback. He was a decent starter when he started. Wasn't the best, but he was a decent starter. But for some reason, this team is what, 3-5 now, 3-4. They don't have a winning
Yeah, 3 and
record.
4.
They've looked they've
3 and 5.
looked nothing like they did last year. They haven't looked like fighters. They've looked more comparable to the New York Giants than they have to the Philadelphia Eagles and even the Cowboys, who are in their division too. And for that reason, I can't willingly have any more faith in them than the fact that they're hopeful, because last year they were really good. So that means we know that they could be good. But this year they've looked nothing like it. They look like shells.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels was awesome last year. Awesome.
He's
And
phenomenal. One of the best rookie
yeah,
quarterback seasons ever.
yeah, and came out and really, I think, took some people by surprise that
Mm-hmm.
he was as good as he was, and who actually played much better than he was the number 2 quarterback taken in the draft and played much better than the number 1, Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
And so
significantly.
I think that coming into this season, there was hopes they were going to build on that. And football, NFL just doesn't really work that way. He's had some injuries that have cost him a bunch of time. Mariota is I actually would consider Mariota a serviceable backup. I don't think he's a good or great backup. I think he's serviceable. He's
Yeah.
okay if you need him to come in for a game or two. That's about it. And Jaden Daniels has been suffering with some injuries and stuff. They lost a couple weeks to the Bears on a late game fumble when they potentially
Yeah.
were in position to take the lead and win that game. So whether it be injuries or just a sophomore slump, it just hasn't been growth on top of what was built last year.
No, sir.
So hope. I think there is still hope. I'm not ready to write them off yet. I think they're probably accurately put right there in that category.
Yep.
They're actually 3-5 right now,
3-5.
and
There
I
it
think
is.
that that's just kind of where they're going to be. If they're 500, I don't have their schedule right now in front of me. If they're 500 for the season, I think that'd be a win based on kind of where they're at now and kind of how they're playing. So,
Yeah.
all right, what's the next? What's the next
Last
one?
team in the have hope category, the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Minnesota is having similar issues to Washington. Last year, Minnesota won 14 games? They went 14-3, something like that. Minnesota played lights out with Sam Darnold at QB. And with the exception of a couple really rough games at the end of the season, Sam Darnold was amazing. And then they made the very stupid decision to let Sam Darnold go. And because of that, they have now struggled this entire season to have consistent quarterback play. And ultimately, it is killing them because the core of that team stems from the fact that they have the best wide receiver in the league, arguably the best wide receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson, and some really great pieces around it. But if you don't have a guy who can throw him the ball, you're screwed. And so Minnesota goes into this season with a banged up J.J. McCarthy. He's still recovering from what happened from last year. And a Carson Wentz who has a fucking broken arm. What's wrong with Carson Wentz's arm?
Yeah, his shoulder.
Yeah, his shoulder's just completely fucked. And it's showing that it's killing this team. It's just a mess, you know. What sucks too is that the coaching for the Vikings is great, or has been great, right? They've found a way to win games consistently over the last couple years with any guy they put in at quarterback. But now they have their guy. He doesn't get to play because he goes out with another injury. And then they come in with Carson Wentz, who in theory they should be able to work with because they've been able to work with guys worse than him before, and they can't make anything happen. It's just kind of, I think, exposing the Vikings, after a little while, that it's exposing them for the fact that, they really are running on, fumes and barely getting by with these quarterbacks that aren't established. And that if they don't find a solidified guy to fill that piece, they're screwed. They're done for. Hopefully J.J. McCarthy's the answer, but he's essentially on his rookie year, and he's only played 2 games total so far, 3. And in those 3 games, he had 1 game where he looked really good, and the rest of them he was like, ooh. So we will see.
Yeah. So Carson Wentz is out for the remainder of the season. I think he had shoulder surgery. And the Vikings have, quite frankly, screwed the pooch on the quarterback situation. They drafted J.J. McCarthy pretty high in the draft 2 years ago. By no fault of his own, was injured in a preseason game last year
Mm-hmm.
and did not play at all. Came back briefly at the beginning of this year, has a separate injury. The ironic part is that it was pointed out to me. I'm not the only one, obviously, who saw this, but did not go past me to watch in a game last week where
It's
Carson
terrible.
Wentz, who blew his shoulder out, played the rest of the game. His arm was basically falling off. The man looked like he just should not have been playing football. And on the sidelines, J.J. McCarthy, who's been out for a long time, has a play come to the sidelines where he actually hurdles to avoid multiple players coming out of the sidelines, who's screaming and yelling and dancing and cheering on a leg that is so badly injured that he can't go in and play,
Yep.
while
Carson
the
Wentz is
backup quarterback
literally
Carson Wentz
falling
is in
apart on a
there.
field.
Yeah, and so I'm not really sure how much confidence they have in JJ McCarthy. I'm not sure that
I
they
said it
don't think
last
they
week.
made a rather large mistake
Yeah.
in drafting him, and they're kind of going, "Oh crap, what really happened?" And
Yeah.
when you couple that with the fact that they had 2 people on their roster last year that are now starting quarterbacks for very successful teams. One team is actually the best record in the NFL right now. They had Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold on their team last year. Daniel Jones is starting quarterback for the 7-1 Colts,
Yeah,
who
exactly.
will win their division and be a playoff team. and Sam Darnold is having another very good season currently now for the Seattle Seahawks. And after leading the Vikings to a 14-3 win record last year, the Vikings thought, well, hey, let's get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent him off to the Seahawks. And let me look right now to make sure I'm correct. The Seahawks are
5-2.
the number one team in their division at 5-2.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so, there's got to be some real people looking in the mirror, having some real tough conversations with themselves based on what's happening over there. Because unless JJ McCarthy comes off being injured and looks like the world beater that I do not think he is, and I don't think the Vikings think he is at this point, then the Vikings have basically what amounts to a lost season as they watch
Mm-hmm.
multiple quarterbacks that were on their roster last year playing for teams who are very successful. So go
Yeah.
Vikings. Good job.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I said it last week. I said JJ McCarthy should be starting this week, and they clearly didn't start him. And then we watched Carson Wentz fall apart. I think the biggest mistake that the Vikings have made in the last year is letting Sam Darnold go. Sam Darnold had that insane season, and you could have signed him on a 3-4 year deal, and then when his contract ended, had JJ McCarthy right then and there to back him up. And instead, you let him go and you gamble on a guy who hasn't played a game in the NFL yet. So, that's their biggest issue. Let's move on to the chopping block. These teams are teams that are just at the edge. They're just at the edge.
Let's get to it.
Let's
get to it.
I don't want to give up on them yet, but I might need to soon. And the first team on this list are the Dallas Cowboys. Man, talk about two sides of a coin. An electric offense that is super fun to watch, super exciting, followed by the worst defense in the NFL. They are a mess. Man, Dak Prescott came back. He's been great. CeeDee Lamb got injured for a couple weeks, but he came back. They've been fun to watch. I mean, I have fun watching the Cowboys, and I don't like saying that because I don't really like the Cowboys. I know you don't like the Cowboys, but man, they're kind of fun to watch. They're fun to watch, and I think that outside of their extremely piss poor defense, they're great. And so, at least teams on this tier essentially are the tier below. But I actually like talking about them here and there. And so, for that reason, the Cowboys are staying because they're fun to watch, and I enjoy watching them. And while I don't think that they're by any means competitive for the playoffs this year, I do think they are going to cause some serious wreckage in the later half of this season. I think they are going to be the cause of some teams' playoff hopes potentially being destroyed, or at least their positions being changed. So that's why I'm putting the Cowboys where they're at, because they're a fun watch.
All right, I'll go with that.
Okay, next team?
Yeah.
Houston Texans. Now, before they beat the Niners this week in a very convincing fashion, I would have put the Texans in the have hope tier. I would put them one tier below. But last week, CJ Stroud had a really good game. The Texans looked like the Texans did 2 years ago, and they had a little bit of hope. And I watched him play, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, because both of us thought the Niners were going to beat them. And the Texans are a team that we haven't talked about much at all this year. We really haven't, because they've been so boring, and we haven't really cared to talk about them. But I think we need to give them a little bit more credit, and maybe think about talking about them a little bit more as the season progresses, because I think the Texans might turn the corner a little bit and might start trending upwards again. And, even when they were trending down, I didn't think they were that terrible. But let's see what happens with them, They've kept it close. They kept it close with the Rams to start the season. They've kept it close in a lot of games against really good teams. I think the Texans do have a chance. And so I want to keep talking about it.
Okay. I think we'll be a couple more games and we'll stop talking about them. That's
interesting. So you think they're going to stop? They're not going to be good. Okay.
I don't think they're good now. No.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I don't have a lot to say. We'll see how it goes, but I think that we will quickly have them as a team we don't talk about anymore pretty soon. So, all right, next one.
All right. The Chicago Bears are my next team on the chopping block. Chicago is fun, frisky, exciting. Their offense is electric. They have a very talented defense, although it is very beaten and battered right now. Ben Johnson is a first-year head coach who has serious media issues. He's very bad at public speaking. He's very bad at talking to the press. But he seemingly has a locker room of players who like him, and he's found a way to coach a team that is very talented to look really good. And last week they lost in a pretty embarrassing fashion. I'm not gonna lie. They shouldn't have lost to that Ravens team with Tyler Huntley starting at QB, but they did. But they've looked good all year. Even when they lose outside of last week, they've been pretty fun to watch. And for that reason, I like to keep the Bears where they're at. I think they're trending upwards. I think they play good. Ben Johnson has a fun, exciting offense that he leads, and for that reason, they're on the chopping block.
Chopping block. So
Chopping block is the chopping block tier are the teams that are on the edge. And next week we could stop talking about them, or next week we could keep talking about them. They're my teams that I'm 50-50 on. I want to stop talking about them, but they keep fighting. That's where I
think I think they'll pop up and play a key role. Again, I don't have the schedule in front of me right now. I think that their schedule is not particularly difficult outside of their own division, and so I think that potentially they'll make some noise because it's really hard in division rivalries, especially the Lions have to play them again, and he was their offensive coordinator last year, so
yeah.
I think that we might talk about him a few more times, but honestly, I don't think I don't think that the Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams quarterback head coach combination is a particularly good one, and I don't think that they're really a whole lot better than they were last year. I think some of the things have gotten better. The sacks have gone down considerably, and some other things when you look on paper look a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually watch the games, like the game they beat the Washington Commanders was really could have easily been lost because of that fumble that Washington was driving on. It looked like they were going to. And so I don't know. I don't think they're actually really a whole lot better than they were last year. And I don't see the combination of the head coach quarterback being all that great. And so I think they could easily be closer to a shite just might team than a
really. You think they're shite just might? I don't think they are. I don't. Yeah. I think
that's what we're talking about it for.
I think they're turning it around. All right, last team on the chopping block, the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are my last team on the chopping block. We've seen it all this year. They have fallen from once being great to now being kind of a laughingstock. But here's my thoughts. Last week we said this is a make or break game for the Baltimore Ravens. If they win this game, they have a chance to fight back for it. Now we thought Lamar Jackson was starting, and he was not. It was announced that he was not starting on Friday, which there was a bit of controversy around that. But we thought that Lamar Jackson was starting, and so that's what we made that bet. And then Tyler Huntley comes in, and he leads that team to a great victory. He looked great out there. I'm not going to lie.
He looked awesome.
Yeah. And so for that reason, I think I have to put the Ravens on the chopping block because last week I said this is their make or break game, and they made it. They made it. They won. They won in a great way. They stopped an offense that has looked really good in the last couple of weeks. They held them to 16 points total, I think. They looked like the Ravens have looked in the past. And for that reason, I have to put them there. I can't put them any higher than chopping block because in reality, they're 2-5 or 2-6 they're a mess. So
2-5.
They're 2-5. They're a mess. They're battered and I've had my fun watching Ravens fans call for everyone to be fired and that they're the worst organization in the league and they need a tank for the first pick in the draft and this, that, and there. But they're the Ravens. They've been a really solid organization for 25 years. They'll probably find a way to bounce back and maybe recover this season just a little bit. But for that reason, they're on the chopping block.
Yeah, so as of today, the odds makers have them actually favored to win their division, while they actually have the worst record in their division at 2-5. And so, they did have to win that game against the Bears. It was
Yeah.
interesting that Lamar didn't play after the bye week, and so chopping blocks probably right where they need to be. I think coming into the season, it's silly that they're to think that they'd be 2-5 at this point, but they are going to have to just win every week, and we'll see what happens. I don't have a lot of faith and hope in them. I think that they will be cut from us talking a whole lot about them much more pretty quickly here. But that's
Yeah.
all I got for them. Okay, let's get to some decent football. We've spent
Yeah, let's get in. Let's get in. We've got
a lot of time. A lot of time has been spent talking about these garbage ass
we've
teams.
got
We're not going to talk about it
15
anymore.
teams left. We've got 15
And so
teams left to discuss.
that must be why we spent so much time talking on these crap ass teams, because we're not going to talk about them anymore this season.
Yeah.
So
let's move on.
that's why we are going to move on, and we're going to talk about these teams, and we're going to talk much more about the rest of the season. So if we don't talk about them as much, we're sorry, because that means we're going to continue to talk about them. So for those of you who are fans of those crap ass teams we just talked about, except for the Raiders, because we're contractually obligated to continue talking about them,
we're sorry.
Hopefully you liked it.
We'll talk about them more probably, but not that much. They're not going to get that much more time. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Frisky but not complete. This tier are teams that are good, but they have some core issues that are not causing them to lose games, but definitely are a problem. Number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're playing good football for the most part. Their new head coach is doing a great job. Cohen's doing a good job. Their pieces are great. Duval, that's the one.
Okay.
I think they did a great job drafting Travis Hunter, and it paid off the last game they played. He had a great game. They lost, but he had a great game offensively and defensively, and that's cool. That's awesome to see that it worked out. Their issue is an issue that a lot of teams on the lower list have, which is their quarterbacks is a bit confusing right now. That quarterback situation confuses me, and although I've defended him a lot in the past this year, it's just this continuous every year in, year out. It's this continuous gamble on, okay, is Trevor Lawrence gonna play like a superstar, or is he gonna play very mediocre? And whenever I'm about to give up on him, he has a superstar game, and then he goes back to being mediocre. So that's why I put them there, because they're a really, really, really solid football team. It's just, man, Trevor Lawrence needs to figure it out.
We, as football fans, the media that I've listened to for a long, on the whole, to be honest, we have wrecked far better quarterbacks, or quarterbacks who have done far more for their teams in the last 5 years since he's been in the league.
Mm-hmm.
We will spend large quantities of time talking about how terrible Sam Darnold had in a season where he was 14-3 and put up great numbers, or if he has a terrible half of a game this season, even though they're 5-2 with him leading them, the Seahawks. We'll spend a whole bunch of time talking about that situation, and we give Trevor Lawrence, who is a number 1 pick for the Jaguars, the hopeful savior of this team.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, his years in college, he had been talked about since high school as this Hall of Fame potential quarterback. And if you go look at what he's done at a macro level as a team when he's been there, and his stats individually, it's been absolute crap. So I don't understand why he gets a free pass. I did enjoy watching him in college. I have not been a big supporter of him, and I don't understand why he gets a free pass. They just paid him $251 million or something like that last year after doing nothing.
Here's why I think they're giving him a free pass. And I agree with it? No. But he has dealt with probably the worst coaching you could ever have since coming into this league. By far.
He's had some challenges, absolutely.
He's had, but we already know, right? And I say this every week too. We already know that when a quarterback gets drafted to a terrible organization, especially with a terrible coach, they are already set up to fail. And so the thought is, because it's a new head coach, there is a chance that with a couple seasons of Mr. Cohen and the Duval boy himself, he'll have a chance to figure it out. Now, do I agree with it? No. I think 5 seasons in, I don't know what the fuck's going on with that team. But he got dealt probably the worst fucking hand you could get dealt with that head coaching mishap on his rookie year.
So Darnold going to the Jets?
No, Darnold got fucked too. But Darnold has turned it around, right? That's proving the point.
Well, I understand, but my point is right now that we'll still roast Darnold for having a bad quarter or a bad half, and we'll still give no love to Daniel Jones, who's the quarterbacking the number 1 team right now in the Colts. We'll roast them on an instant, but yet we seem to somehow never ever have anything negative to say about Trevor Lawrence.
True. We do.
And coming out of college, Trevor Lawrence was touted to be a much better quarterback than either one of those two. So that's just my point. I don't have any faith in the Jags. I'll let them be frisky. We'll let them be frisky just because they're 4-3 right now.
Yeah, they got a winning record. They're 4-3.
Yeah, so they're 4-3. We can call them frisky, but that's my beef with them. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Next All right, here's the most mid NFL team in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mr. Mike Tomlin himself has been able to maintain a 500 record or better for how many years now?
15. He's been in the head
15 years? Yeah, okay. So that's the story of the Steelers. It's plain and simple. They're frisky, but they're not going to be better than 500 this year. That's how I feel about them. This defense that's supposed to be so talented has fallen apart the last couple weeks. It looked like shit. TJ Watt looks like, doesn't look like the guy he should be. The defense just as a whole doesn't look good at all. And they're fighting to win games with Aaron Rodgers at QB, who when tackled by his own lineman after scoring a touchdown, looked like he was needed to be put on a stretcher. It's just Mike Tomlin is playing for a 500 record and not playing to go to the playoffs and win games, in my opinion, because it's just he's doing it the wrong way. And so next year when the Pittsburgh Steelers have another new set of quarterbacks, we're probably gonna say the same thing. So that's all I have to say about them.
I got nothing. Keep it moving. How you doing?
Yep. Next one, San Francisco 49ers. Now, I think you disagree with me, but listen, if the San Francisco 49ers were healthy, they'd probably be top of the contenders tier, top of the juggernauts, or in the juggernauts tier. But they're so beaten and battered. And this week against the Texans, the cracks finally showed. And they struggled to win, and they didn't win, right? Even when they were winning games with all these injuries, it was close. They weren't winning convincingly. The injuries have piled up way too much. You've got an issue right now where you have to decide between Mac Jones or Brock Purdy going in, because Mac Jones has honestly looked better than Brock Purdy this year. It's just a whole mess. And although they have superstars like McCaffrey and Kittle, and that whole team is just built to be great, too many injuries are killing their season, and it's going to be the reason their season's getting killed, and that's why they're not a complete team. It's unfortunate because they're great. They're one of the best coach teams in the league.
That's my point 100%, that they're a lesser coaches this team would be. We wouldn't even be talking about them anywhere near where we're at. And I've been a big supporter of them. I believe a ton in the coaching staff and on both sides of the ball. But looking at the rest of their schedule, though, it's not too difficult. I am surprised they lost to the Texans. I don't think that Purdy should come in. He's still been banged up. Mac Jones should play another game. They have the Giants coming up. That's very winnable. They have a Rams team that, based on what we're talking about here, the Rams should easily beat them,
destroy them.
But it's a Rams team that's also very well coached. Two coaches that come from the same sort of coaching tree, and they are division rivalries. So I'm not going to say that. I think they could win that game potentially, depending on what injuries happen there. Then they have the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans, the Bears, and then they play the Colts and the Seahawks. So they very well could be
but here's
a 10 or 11 win team.
Here's my argument. I think Seahawks beat them. I think the Bears beat them. I think the Colts beat them. The Titans and the Browns are a mess, but I think the Browns defense will do fine against that banged up Niners offense. And so really, like, these injuries are affecting them too much, and they might win 10 games.
Oh, I agree.
But like they might, but I would actually bet now against the teams that we think they should beat. We should bet against them, against the teams we think they should beat, because I do think the Bears are going to continue to get better and better as the season goes on, and when the Niners get to that point, they're not going to be able to beat them because they're just too injured, man. Their pieces are gone.
That's fine.
So.
I agree. If the season goes in the toilet, it will be because the injuries are too much to overcome. But we fundamentally think about these things too differently. I think I'm a little higher on them, and I think that they will be able to figure out these
overcome it. Yeah.
Of course, that means that they can't sustain many more injuries, and they need to get some pieces back. And also, when you bring up a team like the Bears, I think the Bears are going the opposite direction. They're going down, and so we'll see how it plays out. But that's where we're at. Okay, next one.
Right, next time. We're moving up to contenders now.
Yep.
Those are my frisky teams. The Buffalo Bills are the bottom of my contenders list. The Bills have had two very, very uncharacteristic losses this year. But as we discussed last week, those losses also kind of make sense. They haven't beaten anybody who's really notable this year. And, outside of James Cook's incredible performance last week, I think the Bills' offense has looked a little bit suspect. I think it comes from, Josh Allen is not playing at an MVP caliber like he has throughout the years. He's kind of starting to show signs of how he looked early on in his career, where he's kind of slinging that ball around willy-nilly and throwing interceptions and turning it over. He doesn't have, the wide receiver help that a lot of other teams have. He doesn't have a solidified, bona fide, number one, this is my guy, he's super talented wide receiver. I think it's starting to show that this offense is not, as good as we all thought it was. Now, they did put up 40 points last week, but again, that was a James Cook performance. That was a James Cook masterclass. He scored most of the points for them, did he not?
Yeah.
So
216.
Yeah, so when you peel back the curtain a little bit, there's a lot of issues that I think are coming from this team that need to be addressed. And so for that reason, I'm only leaving them at contenders, because when you compare them to the teams above this list, I'm not seeing the same issues I'm seeing that they have,
Yeah. They play the Chiefs this week, and so
it's going to be a telling game, a very telling game.
Yeah, and quite frankly, this game's only big for one team, and that's the Bills. I mean, this really can only go one way. The Bills have to win this game. Otherwise, I think that the writing's sort of on the wall, in my opinion, unless something changes. So we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be a telling week, though, for the Bills. Who else you got? Next one, contenders.
The Denver Broncos are my next contender. Now, this team goes in line with the next team. They're even, in my opinion. So don't compare one better than the other. They're even in my list. The Denver Broncos are a very, very talented football team. But all year I've been saying it. That offense struggles. That offense struggles. Now, in the last couple of weeks, they've looked a lot better, right? They had an insane fourth quarter comeback against the Giants. And against the Cowboys this week, they put up 44 points, which is awesome. But once again, Cowboys, worst defense in the league. The New York Giants, outside of the fourth quarter, played very well against them, right? Otherwise, they put up 13 points against the Jets. They put up 21 against the Eagles, which they won, and that I respect them for. They put up 28 against the beaten and battered and just bad Bengals. They put up 20 against the Chargers, 28 against the Colts, and 20 against the Titans. They are, in my opinion, a team that needs to figure out these offensive issues, and they need to figure them out fast, or they are going to plummet. That's how I feel about them. Their defense is great. It's talented. Nick Bonito is leading the Defensive Player of the Year race. Their special teams are awesome, but it's Bo Nix. It's at the end of the day, it's Bo Nix. It's Bo Nix. for whatever reason, is struggling this year. I think week 4, I said he was boasting the worst PFF grade of all quarterbacks across or the worst passer rating of all quarterbacks across the league. He just hasn't looked good, and the season's gone by, and he's looked better. But like, they need to figure it out sooner than later.
I think that I think that Sean Payton, their head coach, is figuring it out with him.
I do too.
Um,
I think they're trending up.
yeah, I think that their defense is phenomenal, and we'll see what happens with Patrick Surtain, their All-Pro um, defensive back, who had, I think, a shoulder. He went out twice in the last week's game. I think the shoulder is what took him out, or
Yeah,
maybe it was a pec. I think it was a pec. I don't
something
remember.
something was wrong. He's
It was
been
an
dealing
upper.
with
It
an
was an upper
injury.
body.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know if they're actually going to lose him. I haven't looked at the report this week, but
yeah.
I think that Sean Payton is an offensive coach and does a phenomenal job, and I think that his plan with Bo Nix, quarterback, is coming along just kind of how he wants it to. The short stuff's been great. The deeper stuff's been quite ugly, honestly.
Yep.
It's been real bad. But they're what are they, 6-2, I think, right now, and on top of the AFC West, and they're definitely, in my opinion, they're definitely going to easily make the playoffs. And then we'll see what happens after that. I anticipate that Bo Nix will continue to get better. I think contenders, not knowing, I don't remember what all of your categories are, but
They're in
contenders,
contenders.
yeah, they're in
They can
contenders.
compete.
What's the next category up?
The next one's juggernauts. Those are the big boys. Those are the
Yeah,
boys that
okay. I don't
are.
know that. I'm not sure that I'd quite let them be juggernauts yet, but
They're
certainly
not.
contenders seems fair
They're
to me. Okay,
contenders.
what's the next one? Okay,
Uh,
go for it.
the team that I believe is very even with them is the Los Angeles Chargers. The LA Chargers are a
Okay.
fun football team. Justin Herbert, like he has throughout his whole career, is fighting for his life every week, and he's making it work, man. They started the season hot, 3-0, beat every team in their division once, and they kind of fell off a bit, and now they're kind of starting to stabilize. I love him. I've always liked Justin Herbert. I think he was up until Harbaugh showed up. He was kind of dealing with, you know, a rough life in the coaching department, organizationally as well. But since then he's been great, man. He keeps that team alive. He keeps that team competing every week. If Justin Herbert were to get hurt, that team would instantly suffer. They would not be anywhere near as good as they are right now. But as long as Justin Herbert keeps fighting, even with his offensive line injuries, that team is great. They contend. They compete.
Yeah, so they were 3-0 to open the season, missing their
Rayshawn
one of their
Slater, their star left tackle. Left tackle.
yeah, so
I believe.
yeah, and so they were 3-0 in spite of that because they still had a pretty decent offensive line with the anchor being Joe Alt. Then they
Mm-hmm.
struggled because Joe Alt went down with an injury. And 2 weeks ago, the big issue we talked about with them was that they needed to keep Justin Herbert upright. We even sort of tossed around the idea that they should put Herbert on the bench and let the backup play a couple weeks until his offensive line got better, so that Herbert didn't actually literally get killed because he was just getting absolutely mauled game in and game out.
Yeah.
And so last week they looked very good again. Joe Alt's back in anchoring that offensive line. And I think that as long as injuries don't continue to hurt them on the offensive line, I think they'll be fine. Definitely contenders. AFC West is a beast of a
It is.
division aside from the Raiders.
Yeah.
And so we'll see sort of what happens in that division. But yeah, okay, next one.
Next one. My next contender are the Seattle Seahawks. We kind of
Okay.
talked about them a lot already, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's Sam Darnold, dude. I mean, it's just a team that is doing great. They've got a great 1-2 punch in the run game with Charbonnet and Walker. They've got Sam Darnold at QB slinging that rock to the leading passing yards, or the leading receiver in the league, Jackson Smith in Jigba, who is one of my favorites. Um, it's just a well-oiled machine out there. They look good. I have nothing like specific to touch on outside of the fact that they just look good every week. They're not coming out, blasting teams or destroying them, but they're coming out and they're playing good football games and they look good, and I can't complain about them.
Yeah, they're contenders. They're contenders because of all those things you said, I think. I think the one thing that will hurt them, if not the one thing, but they certainly play in division with the Rams. as constructed right now, if Stafford can stay healthy and they can get Puka Nakua back, that they may be a wild card team. Because I'm not sure if they're going to win that division. I think it's going to come down to the last couple weeks of the season. But
Yeah.
I like the Seahawks, and contenders is good. I
Yeah.
like where they're at. Go for it. Next one.
All right. We've got, in my opinion, three more contenders.
Okay, go for it.
Three more contenders.
Okay.
Next
Okay.
contender. And you might get mad at me for this one, but the New England Patriots are a contender. They're 5-2 right now. Mike Vrabel came in, made this team look amazing. Drake May has been balling out left and right, throwing to his main guy, Kayshon Boutte, I believe is his name. That defense is playing like a Mike Vrabel defense plays. They're gritty. They're good. They fight. I mean, come on, man. I hate to say it. I don't want to see the Patriots have success for the same reason I don't want to see the Cowboys have success. But man, what can you do? Vrabel is proving that he is and will always be a solid head coach option, and that the Titans made a huge mistake getting rid of him. And he was doing it with fucking Tannehill all those years in fucking Tennessee. Now he's got a young guy who's good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think Patriots probably could. I mean, they're easily contenders. I actually at this point have them winning that division over the Buffalo Bills. I actually think that they're closer to the juggernaut status right now.
Okay, well that's good
Drake
because
May is proving to be all that you want from a quarterback pick where he was picked last year or 2 years ago. And Vrabel is a phenomenal coach, and that team's taken on sort of his persona. And outside of Drake May, what other piece can I name? I don't think I can really
excuse
name.
you,
I mean,
Boutte.
besides Booty, but until the last few weeks, even him, I think they're just a bunch of ball players that are constructed by a coach who is
Vrabel's a Dan Campbell type. Vrabel's a Dan Campbell,
Yeah.
right? He just knows how to lead a locker room of guys.
Right.
No matter the
Yep.
talent, no matter the skill.
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
and that's what's
Yep.
happening. And May is proving to be a very good quarterback. So
Yeah.
he has
Phenomenal.
everything he could ask for, right? You could have a team of a bunch of B, C tier players, but if you have a quarterback who's good and a coach who's phenomenal, you're gonna be a great football team. And that's what the Patriots are.
All right, next one.
But yeah, that's it. And yes, the Patriots are, along with the next two teams that I put up, teams that are teetering on the contenders list. Because the next team, or on the contenders to juggernauts list, the next team I'm putting on this list is the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, I said it. The LA Rams are a contender. They're a top contender. They're really, really good. This is when we get to the point of the conversation. Now we're at the point of these are great organizations through in, through out. Great coaching trees, great front offices, and great talent. We're at that point. Now, I do not think LA are juggernauts. I do not think the next team is a juggernaut. And the four teams that come after them will be, and our winning it all team is definitely. But the LA Rams are solid. Phenomenal defense led by Jared Verse. They have a very talented offense with an aging Matthew Stafford, but he's got weapons for days, right? He's got Puka. He's got, oh my God, I can't even name all the weapons that they have. Their running back, oh my God, what's his name? I can't even remember these players' names right now. They're too much in my head. Either way, talented offense, right? Very talented offense led by the original OG in recent years, offensive guru head coach, right? He's the guy that changed all the stories, youngest head coach in the league to be that successful, et cetera, et cetera. They're coming out of this rebuild where they spent everything they had to build a team to win the Super Bowl, and they're fine. They're doing fine. They're actually doing really good. I think credit goes to their scouting department for being able to find players later in the draft that are pieces that have built this team to continue to be good. So all credit to the Rams. They're really, really good. I don't think they compete when we bring it up our next really talented teams. But it's close. It really is. And the only reason why I'm saying it is because in past years, they haven't proven to beat some of these teams. So,
Okay.
Any statements on the Rams?
No, I think
Okay.
that. Well, I mean, just real quickly, Matt Stafford's been healthy and upright, and as long as that's the case, then I think they'll be fine. So yeah, go for it. Who's the next one after the Rams?
Yes, sorry. Which, just to add on to that LA Rams statement, or to the Matthew Stafford statement, is he might not
Uh,
be healthy. He's
well, I
played
don't
his
think
whole
he's been.
he's played his whole career injured and just not said anything. For all we know, he's hurting right now, but he's just a fucking tank
Oh
that
no!
refuses to.
Oh no! Oh no! I didn't mean healthy like he feels good when he gets out of bed in the morning. I mean healthy like he can drag himself to the stadium,
Yeah.
and manage to somehow get through the next football game. That's what
Yep.
I mean by healthy.
Yep. All right, last contender on my list. This is a contender you probably want to talk about because it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a phenomenal organization, phenomenal team. I probably would say they're the best coached team in the league. After and then the Niners follow them because man, they are. Well, I mean, you're the one who says it, right? You're the one who says it every week. It's a great team. Baker Mayfield, week in, week out, is finding a way to get the ball to guys whose names we've never heard before. Every week, he's had a wide receiver get injured and out for the season. Chris Godwin's been gone. Mike Evans has been gone. Agbika got hurt. Agbika was a guy who was filling in, who's talented. He's finding a way to make things work. They've got a great running back in Bucky Irving. Their defense is well coached by Todd Bowles. Right, Todd Bowles, their head coach.
That's it. Yeah. That's your head coach. Yep.
Todd Bowles. And to bring up your theory about really good football teams save their timeouts. And as stated by you every week, because you've kept this number, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not used a timeout outside of the 2-minute warning at all this season, unless it was a warranted injury timeout or because they needed to use it earlier in the fourth quarter to come back and win the game. They've only ever used their timeouts when they absolutely needed to because they do not make mistakes. That team is a well-oiled machine that moves and trucks along, but they have faltered against really good football teams this year. They have. They've been exposed by really good football teams, specifically the Detroit Lions 2 weeks ago, when a group of third-string guys, some guys who weren't even on NFL teams before signing with the Lions that week, completely dismantled their offense. So that's why I don't think they're a juggernaut, because when the real juggernauts come in, they've been proven to lose.
Okay. You might be right. I'm just laughing at your statement because I know where it's coming from.
I mean they're good, but that's just how I feel.
Okay.
They're
So they
again.
lost.
The Bucks, the Rams, and the Pats are teetering on the edge of being juggernauts.
Okay. All right. I think the Bucks are going to prove to be difficult.
I do too.
I think that we'll see how it shakes out, but yeah, the Bucks are really good.
But
Okay,
who
go
are
ahead.
the two teams the Bucks have lost to?
Philadelphia and the Lions.
And have we mentioned Philadelphia and the Lions yet?
No,
No,
that's
for
fine.
a very
Yeah,
good
go ahead.
reason, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm laughing.
It's rough. It's rough. Okay, my first juggernaut, and I hate that I'm doing this. But I have to because this fucking team figures it out every year, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They looked like shit to start this year, but I said it in week 1. I said it early on in the season. I said the Kansas City Chiefs start every year very slow. What makes them a juggernaut, what makes them one of the best teams in the NFL is the fact that they gain momentum and they carry that momentum throughout the season. And that is what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing now. I think this week they're going to play the who are they playing this week?
Like the Bills.
The Bills, yes. They're going to play the Bills, and they're going to fight, and they're probably going to win this game in Buffalo. That's what I think. The Chiefs are a very good team. They're built around arguably the best player in the league, Patrick Mahomes. They have all their pieces back right now. Rashee Rice has been playing very good since coming back. And I just think they're hitting their stride, and because they're hitting their stride, the rest of the season is going to be hell for any other AFC team because of it. Andy Reid is by far the best coach in the NFL. That's just what I have to say. You know, they're a juggernaut. I don't think they're going to be touched
Yeah.
for the rest of this year.
Uh, I don't know. I think they are a juggernaut. I mean, they're just you just can't say anything else at this point. Not until they stop winning the AFC West and going to the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, I
in
mean,
all fairness, it doesn't matter. That's just the facts. Those are just facts. Facts
yeah,
and indisputable facts at this point. So, um, no, I'll just leave it at that.
yep.
They're
All
good.
right, they're good.
I hate it, but
I
they're
hate
good.
it too. All right, next team, the Green Bay Packers are my next team on this list. I hate saying this one too because I really don't like Green Bay, as you can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
they're good. I don't want to give them any credit, but I mean they beat the Lions, who's a team that we have not brought up yet. Week 1, they beat Washington, who's supposed to be a good team. I will say Green Bay is doing the opposite of what I would say the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. Green Bay has regressed since the start of the season. They looked phenomenal to start week 1, but as the season's gone on, they've shown some signs of faltering, and I think they will ultimately falter a little bit more and more. But as of right now, they are a juggernaut. They are an untouchable team. They're super, super good. Out, and from where they go from here, is up to them. Jordan Love keeps playing at the level he's playing at, though. That team's gonna be great.
I don't look at the season opening games. I don't put a lot of weight into those. The Raiders beat the Patriots at the Patriots in week 1. The Chiefs lost to the Chargers. I believe that was in Sao Paulo in week
Week 1,
1.
yes.
The um, let's see. So Green Bay won. Yeah. So there was another team too. I had like 3 or 4 actually. Anyways, team one, week 1 things that happen. I just throw out altogether.
Yeah, but
Um,
I mean, let's just talk about the Packers in general, right? Um,
and if you watch, and I have, so have you. If you watch the Packers, Jordan Love has had a phenomenal season when you look at his stats.
yeah,
Uh, quite frankly, last week a lot of the passes that were completed were, frankly, the Steelers are
the
terrible on
Steelers are terrible
defense.
on defense.
Their tight end, who made up the majority of the passing yards from, had a couple of plays where they were just somehow he made a crazy catch and then turned it into a big long play just based on his talent alone. And I think that I actually don't buy into Green Bay being as good as most people do. And I don't mean to say that I think that they're not a good team, but I don't think they're a great team. And
Okay,
I don't care. I don't care that if the playoffs started today, they would be the number 1 seed. I just don't. I don't see them being as good as everybody else does. And
okay.
I don't. And I'm not saying that Jordan Love's not a good quarterback, but I think that right now he's playing above even what his abilities are, and so I think we'll see how it plays out. But I don't think they're as good. I don't think they're a juggernaut. I don't.
Yeah. I
So
disagree. Ultimately, I
yeah,
disagree.
perfect.
I'm looking at stuff right now. That's just I keep looking at my phone because I'm looking at stats and reading things
Yeah.
to confirm my suspicions on how I feel about things. I do think they're that good. And again, this goes back to the coaching thing. LaFleur is a really good head coach. That front office does a really good job, and because of that, I think that team is good. Next one,
Okay.
the Philadelphia Eagles are my next juggernaut. I hate to put them up here too, but my God, they're good. We said at the beginning of the year, we were talking about it, how the Eagles had a lot of close games, and maybe that means that they're not as good as they are, but those close games they're winning, right? They're finding ways to win, and good teams find ways to win, similar to the Bucks. But what I think made me push them up to the juggernaut tier today is they found a way to get that run game going last week. Saquon Barkley was running the ball last week, which is the big thing that I had a problem with for the Eagles all year. That run game sucks. I also have concerns about Jalen Hurts, but he's been fine since then too. I mean, when the Philadelphia Eagles are playing their best ball, they're they're kind of untouchable. And last week they were playing their best ball. Now, to be fair, the Eagles and the Chiefs get help from the refs a lot, and the Eagles have the tush push, and so they get bumped up because of that. But if they didn't have the ref help, I'd bump them down. That's just a joke. Either way, yeah, man, Eagles are great. I mean, I hate Sirianni. I hate's a strong word. I don't actually mean it, but I don't like Sirianni. I'm surprised that team has stuck together because, in my opinion, I think Sirianni's a toxic guy. I don't know how that team has stayed together for so long. I mean, the dude has done some really stupid things as a head coach. And so the fact that that team is still together with all of the crazy shit that we've seen from that head coach shocks me. But hey, they're the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl last year. They've won the Super Bowl a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, you know, what else can I say? They're the prime second best team in the NFC, in my opinion. And
Okay.
they've proven it. So,
All right. Who's the next juggernaut?
huh?
Who's the next juggernaut?
Oh, well, it's the Indianapolis Colts, of course.
Okay.
The big reveal. The Indianapolis Colts are the final juggernaut of the NFL. My God, what an offense. What an offense. Highest scoring offense in the league by a mile. I think they have the largest point differential in the league by like 60 points or something. They're crazy. Colts have a superstar offense. Daniel Jones is leading that team every week. They've got an awesome tight end, rookie tight end. They've got Jonathan Taylor at running back, who's having his best season of his career. He's completely blowing Saquon Barkley's monumental season last year out of the water right now. He is looking insane. That defense plays tough. They play gritty. They're strong. They've got great coaching. Their owner, she's wonderful. She's been in the media all week because she's on the sidelines every game taking notes, thinking about how that team's going to be better. It is awesome to watch the Colts play good. I'm having fun with it. I like it a lot. The only issue that I have with them, and the reason why I don't think they're winning at all just yet, is because it's been a very long time since they've had success like this. And because of that, with new ownership, I think, later on in the year, we might see some struggles from them.
You
I
might see
think
some sure. Why? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I just don't think this team has seen the playoffs or have seen the postseason action in a long time. And because of that, I think when you get into that postseason setting, when they get matched up against teams like the Chiefs, who have
Mhm.
a long tenure of being in the playoffs over and over again every year, there
Mhm.
might be some key changes. Same with the Patriots, even, right? Vrabel is a great long tenured coach. So I think that's where the Colts will falter a little bit. It's when they get to the postseason, and that's why they're just a juggernaut for me.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I've been high on the Colts all season,
Yeah, they're great.
and Jonathan Taylor tied or extended or beat a record this last week for having four of the first 8 games in a season having three touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a tear. I'm
Yep.
not sure if I'm not sure if it averages out to be better on pace to be better than Barkley last year. And he's not. He's just under the pace to be the best of all time. But
Well, if he's just under
but
the pace to be the best of all time, then it's definitely on pace to be better
phenomenal.
than Barkley last year.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, it's very good. I think that people are still out on Daniel Jones. That it's going to take a full season, and
Of
we'll see how
course.
far Indianapolis goes before
Of course.
people change their views of Daniel Jones. But they're 7-1, and they could
Yeah.
easily be 8-0,
Mm-hmm.
if not basically falling apart against the Rams.
Yeah, if not for
Um,
that
in
stupid
like week
dropping the
4,
ball
week
and
5.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they could easily. I mean, they lost that game. The Rams didn't win that game. They lost that game, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
because they could be 8-0 right now, and they're not getting as much love nationally as I think that they deserve. But I've been on them for 8 weeks. Preseason, I was pretty high on them, and so I'm going to stick with that. juggernaut. I'm not sure if they're a juggernaut based on sort of that definition in my mind, but I mean, you could put them in any other category. Definitely making playoffs. A lot of other categories, certainly, certainly at the top. My favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Well, your favorite's
So,
coming up next, to be fair, but
well, okay,
your
yeah,
favorite in this
but
tier for sure.
yeah, okay, fair enough. Yep, go for it. All right, and then what?
Last team. This is biased, I know. The Detroit
And
Lions.
I'm going to bow out of this altogether and let you have the floor, sir, for you to
Wow.
finish it
Okay.
off.
So, first of all, let's do conspiracy theories first. The Super Bowl 60 logo is blue. It's purely blue. And every year, everybody suspects that teams that have the color of the logo are going to be playing in the Super Bowl. Last year, it was red and green. Guess who played in the Super Bowl? The Chiefs and the Eagles. This year, it's pure blue. I think the Lions and the Colts are going to be playing each other in the Super Bowl this year. That's my conspiracy theory. But to bring it back to reality and to talk purely just good football, the Detroit Lions are, in my opinion, the best team in the league. They just are. Am I going to say they're the best coach team in the league? No. I think they're just the most complete team in the league. They are. Week in, week out, you have guys that are nobodies and you have guys that are superstars going onto that field and playing lights out for the Detroit Lions. They handle controversy well. They're coached by definitely the most well-spoken coach in the NFL. They're a ballsy team. They play to win. They play 100%. They play at 100%, 100% of the time. They fight, and they just have too many weapons on both sides of the ball for you to count them out. They're just everything about it. Jared Goff, since he's joined the Lions, has been a top 5 quarterback in the league every year, and people keep forgetting it. They keep counting him out because he's a pocket QB. He is the closest example we have to what Tom Brady was in the NFL right now. He's a guy who can sit in the pocket, who can lead an offense, and that's all he has to do. He doesn't need to run around. He doesn't need to make crazy plays happen. He walks up, he gets the snap, and he gets the ball to his guys. He's accurate. He doesn't turn the ball over lots. He doesn't fumble lots, and that's partly due to the fact that he has, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, O-line in the league. It took him a couple weeks to get there, but when you have Penei Sewell, who's the best offensive lineman in the league, lined up with Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker, who are two very well-seasoned vets who play football very well, and then two star rookie guards who are playing phenomenal right now. You don't have to worry about anything. And then you have to add on to the fact that they have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, which is the best running back duo in the league by far, the best duo in the league. I'm not saying they're the best running backs, but they're the best duo by far. Jahmyr Gibbs, an insane pass threat, one of the fastest running backs in the league, extremely explosive. You have David Montgomery, who is a seasoned vet who can get the rock, who can hit people hard, but also when he gets out there, he gets out there. Then you have, what else do we want to talk about? We want to talk about the wide receivers. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a star wide receiver. We've got Jamison Williams, who can open up the field for you with his speed. You've got great backup pieces in Isaac Tesla, the rookie, who's had only 3 catches this year, but all 3 have been extremely amazing catches. 2 touchdowns and 1 third one-handed catch. You've got Khalif Raymond, who is a proven amazing slot wide receiver. I mean, tight ends. Then we got Sam Laporta, who on his rookie year had a historic season. Following that up, he's just been a solid piece of this offense week in, week out. His backup, Brock Wright, insanely talented, kind of quiet piece of the team who comes in every week and plays. The depth is there. Offensive line has depth. You have depth in the receiver room. You have depth all the way. And then when you flip it over to the defense, who I think has only improved with the addition of Kelvin Shepard as their DC, and Aaron Glenn leaving was something that I said was really good, and Kelvin Shepard was going to be a great DC. I said it before the season started. You were questioning me on it, but I think I've been proven right at this point. I mean, come on. The D-line was questionable at the beginning of the year. Everybody was questioning it. They've clearly proven that is a solid D-line. Hutchinson is by far one of the best, if not the best, defensive end of the league. Paired up with, you've got guys on the interior like Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, Tyleik Williams, all just destroying the interior lines of any team that they play against. The pieces that are with Aiden Hutchinson, you've got Al-Quadin Muhammad, you've got Tyrus Wheat, some other guys who are names that aren't heard of but are playing really well, really quietly on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. And then you go out to the linebackers, you've got, Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, all insanely talented players calling that defense. And then you go to the corner position, who's been injured, but when they're not injured, you have DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold, and people are talking a lot of smack on Terrion Arnold, but when you look at his stats, although he is very heavily called on penalties, he plays really good football. He holds receivers down. He does not let them gain yards on him. And then you get to the safeties, who are the real superstars of the defense. You've got Kirby Joseph. You've got Brian Branch. It's just a fully complete team, and they've shown that they have depth. They've shown that when guys come in to back up players who are hurt or injured or suspended in some cases, that they can play football. It's just, I do not see the Lions slowing down anymore this season. I see them just continuing to play really, really solid football. And now that their bye week is over and they've gotten a lot of their players back off of IR, they're going to continue to tear it up. And that's my spiel.
Okay, so you think they're okay, and you know the team fairly well. Sounds
also,
like you know a little bit about it.
They've had experience in the playoffs that they haven't had for a very long time over the last couple years. They've experienced some really rough losses in the playoffs to San Francisco and Washington the last couple of years. They are knocking on that door. They are. And their front office knows that they're knocking on that door, and their front office is maintaining it. This morning, they signed Aiden Hutchinson to 4 more years, made him the highest paid player that is not a QB all-time in the NFL. And when you look at their cap space, they still have it. That's what's crazy. That front office is doing an insanely good job of maintaining the key pieces of their team without completely gutting their team. It's just insane. It's insane.
Okay, so at the halfway point of the year,
yes,
will be interesting to see in another 8 or 9 weeks or so how this rant sits.
It will.
And then in another 4 or 5 weeks after that, if it holds true, and if it's leading to what is the ultimate goal, which is to be in the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All I have to say on that is, quite obviously, my team has no shot.
No
shot of playing in anything past the regular season.
No, sir.
And so I wish you, my friend, the absolute best.
Thank you.
As a Lions fan myself these days, I am rooting for the exact same thing you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that we can come back and clip some of these things that you said in this.
We will.
And this summation of what you think is going to happen and what has happened up so far, and we can turn that into some
some good
and
clips,
some other
man.
exciting things that prove that you're correct. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, and with that, guys, and I know we haven't done our fantasy this week. We haven't. We do our fantasy every week, but this episode was specifically about our 32 team rankings throughout the rest of the year, and next week we will bring up what our fantasy picks were, and we will discuss our fantasy picks for the current week 9 of the NFL next week, right before we go into our week 10 fantasy picks. But for now, we are going to sign off. So, Dad, if you want to close us out here, please do. This has been a long episode. It's been probably our longest one. So send them off.
Absolutely been our longest one. It should be the longest one we have for the entire year.
It's not going to go much
a little
longer
long.
than this.
We got a little long-winded in some areas, so for those of you who stuck it out to the end, God bless you. We do appreciate you guys listening, and we'll sign this off by saying this has been Two Vits Talking Shit. Goodbye.
See you later, guys. Love you. Bye.